It's safer gambling week. The annual charade was 73 books that won't let me have a bet with them email me to ask if I'm in control of my gambling. I was in Madrid for the weekend, so I missed a lot of the sport. Because I was in Madrid, I was unable to edit and upload a video for the golf doubles series. And so I was fairly confident that it was going to be a dramatic weekend one way or another. And indeed it was. I was on a £2 each way double with the leaders of both tournaments after round 3. That was Neergaard Peterson at 35 to 1 and some guy called Thornbury in the PGA at 400 to 1. The win double would have paid £30,000. It wasn't to be, but even the place double was worth thousands. Thornbury couldn't handle the hurricane-style conditions over in Bermuda, shot an 80 on round 4 to go from first to finishing just outside of the places. I've had a few messages through. The first was regarding some stale odds at Sky Bet on Saturday where the feed went stale for about 35 minutes. The support ticket asked, can we not spend some of the money that we get from the thousands of members that we have at Bookie Bashing on some better IT infrastructure? 1, we don't have thousands of members. We've never even had 500 members at Bookie Bashing. 2, sometimes feeds do go stale. That's the nature of the game. We're playing a bit of cat and mouse with the bookmakers who are constantly trying to block us. For something as complicated as horse racing, we actually outsource the feeds to another company. I don't want to throw them under the bus. It is a massively complicated challenge. I understand one of the things is that bookmakers can make the scrapers think that they're picking up live odds when in reality they've gone stale for 35 minutes. The other point being we are quite a small company, and sometimes when these things happen we have to prioritise the resource of our staff when to look at what. I was over in Madrid, which didn't help, but the team did a really good job. Things were back up and running within an hour of it being reported, and I do ask for a little bit of patience. For something that is as complicated as reading the odds of every horse in every race, at every meeting, at every bookmaker, every few seconds. Which brings us on to email number 2 from a new member who joined us from one of the large match betting communities. Wanted to know how to track his results at Bookie Bashing. That's not something that we've ever built. He told us that the value betting software at the match betting communities was significantly better than at Bookie Bashing and that they had pulled away from us. Okay, so 1, those communities are 35 times the size of Bookie Bashing. And so with that, they have IT teams in the double digits, whereas we can only have a small handful. Secondly, the value betting software at the big match betting organizations is a direct copy of Bookie Bashing, like an exact copy. As in, the people that wrote the software first joined Bookie Bashing, asked questions about everything and just replicated the software. And anytime we release something new, within a short period of time, they've released their own version of that exact new tool. And thirdly, we've never put too much work into tracking users' results at Bookie Bashing. More, we track our own results and we're independently proofed, and if we're in profit, users should be as well. However, we have spent months building new software that tracks users' results. This will be released soon, so keep an eye out for that. Finally, on the subject of results, a third email comes through. A new member joined, and heads up, they won't be continuing with us. This comes from a self-professed, very experienced value bettor who used our lines for player goals and player stats and corners and cards and had lost £4,000, which is a third of his bankroll. I hate to see this, and I looked at his betting history. There were only 120 bets on there, but up to 6 bets on exactly the same line. So, you know, over 3 corners, over 4 corners, over 5 corners, over 6 corners, over 7 corners for the same team. And not only that, they were Kelly staking at 20%, which is a hugely aggressive staking strategy. And when you ladder up 6 bets on the same line, that's £700 on a bet where if the game finishes 0-0, all those bets are going to lose. So minus £4,000 when you're betting up to £700 on the same correlated events. Isn't that unusual? That is the risk that you need to accept when you're betting as aggressively as that. Unfortunately, he didn't want to hear this and remains convinced that it is our fair odds that are wrong. Honestly, I do feel bad, but look, this is an education issue. You can't bet £700 under a £10,000 bankroll and then be surprised if you're £4,000 down. Your profit loss will entirely be down to the outcome of the event and nothing to do with the predictive model. So if you are starting out and you have a £10,000 bankroll, 20, 30, 40, even £50 stakes are starting to get quite large. And if you are betting high, you have to understand that the risk of ruin increases as those stakes increase. You could be throwing darts on random events with £700 stakes and easily be £4,000 down or £4,000 in profit. And the model that you're using becomes irrelevant at this point. Anyway, the experienced gambler has cancelled now. And I am genuinely sorry that they lost money and they also got so emotional and angry about it. Although one of the things we say on sign up at Bookie Bashing is if you're going to get angry at the prospect of losing money, then we do not want you to sign up. The last of 4 emails was from a much more polite member who had noticed that anytime they placed a player first goal scorer or anytime goal scorer bet, the line always moved away from them and they weren't beating the CLV by kickoff. Now this could be indicative of a model that isn't working. However, that's irrelevant just now because this particular member has access to an infinite money machine. If every bet is moving away from you after you place it, then all you need to do is not place the bet, lay whatever odds are available at that particular time, and back out when the inevitable drift happens. Now, whilst I might be being a little bit glib with this point, it does show that it is natural human bias to always think that things are going against us when they're going wrong. A bit like me thinking when Thornbury was in first place after 3 rounds, it would surely be impossible for him not to place. And I definitely shouldn't start spending my profits early on cheeseburgers at the Mercado Navidad out in Madrid. Lucky here! Lucky, come here now! Here, come here! Lucky, sit! Lucky, here! Lucky! 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 Come and sit, please. Lucky! Lucky, come here! I'm sorry. Sit! Sit down now. Sit down now. There we go. Sorry about that. Lucky.